Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me this morning. We are right in the middle of week 2 of our self-isolation because of the coronavirus. And wow, how y'all feeling? It's a tough one, isn't it? Is it getting a little long? You getting a little Netflixed out? I'm hoping today to bring you some ideas for an activity to do that will really use your creativity and be relaxing and maybe be something new that you haven't tried before. So the activity we're doing today is geared at middle school, high school, and adults. Adults, you're going to love this one. So don't let the middle school thing kind of flub you up. Please join in. It is probably not an activity for elementary or preschool. It's going to require some thinking skills and motor skills that probably is going to be a little tough for them. But this is a wonderful activity for tweens and teens and adults to join in on. So we're going to be doing mandalas. And if you're not sure what a mandala is, a lot of time they are circular designs. They are often associated with the beautiful culture in India, and they are similar to Zentangles in that we're going to use a lot of repeated patterns over and over again, but more in a circular pattern. And we will end up making something that is very similar to a floral motif, which is probably one of the reasons why I love these. I do them all the time. They're very relaxing and they make beautiful designs that you just are so pleased with. So that's our goal today. So I'm going to walk you through the steps. So you are going to need just a piece of paper. It does not matter what it is. You're going to need a pen, a pencil, a marker, a colored pencil. Any of those will work. This does not require much. Today I'm going to do it all in black. I encourage you to try, if you enjoy doing this, to try to do some in colored markers. There's lots of things you can do and make it very colorful and fun. So join with me on this. I look forward to going through it.
Okay guys, so I told you that you needed a piece of paper, some kind of pen or marker. Just to show you what I'm using, I'm going to be using 2 different kinds of marker, Sharpie markers. One that is a fine point, so just your typical basic marker, and one that is an extra fine point. So I get some nice detailed work in there with that. Mostly though, this is the one I'm going to be using. So please follow along with me. Don't feel like you have to watch the whole video and then try it yourself. You probably are going to have better results if you do it right along with me. You can always pause it where you need to if I go too fast. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find basically the center of my paper, not looking for perfection or anything, just going to try to find basically where that center is. And I'm going to draw a small circle. That circle doesn't need to be very big at all, just a basic small circle, maybe the size of a pea. Okay, and from that, I'm going to come out, and I'll probably use my fine point for this one. And I'm just going to draw lines coming out about the same length. Now, if you want to get really exact, you could use a ruler. You could also use something like this, just a little scratch piece of paper that you mark a little dot where you want that first length to be, and then you can always measure. So obviously that one needed to be longer. I typically am not that exact. I think when all is said and done, it's gonna look fine. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking for the joy of the process. So that's what I'm going for. Okay, so I'm gonna go in between, do the same kind of thing. Okay, and then I might go in between each one of those. So I end up with kind of like a sun with shooting rays. But when I go like this, when I go in between each one like that and just keep adding in between, it should end up pretty evenly. Okay, now I have the perfect setup for drawing a circle around here that should be fairly even. Just take your time. And don't feel like you have to follow the circle around exactly. You can break it up into little sections. And one of the important things about making a mandala is know you are going to have to turn your paper a lot. It just has to happen. Okay, that's pretty good. So What I'm going to do now is I actually want that to be a thicker line. And anywhere where it might have gotten too close or it's not quite even, I can kind of remedy right now by thickening up the line and pulling it out where it needs to be pulled out in order to even it up a little bit. Okay, it's not bad. All right, and then I'm going to go back with my finer point pen and I'm just going to go around the whole thing and make little like mini petals, almost like what a 5 or a 6-year-old would do when they're making a picture of a flower. Most mandalas can be made with a few simple little patterns that are just repeated over and over again, and this is definitely one of the patterns, these little humps, or petals, whatever you want to call them. Okay, I like that. So the next thing that we're going to do then is we're going to start making some larger humps or little rainbows. And what we want to do is we want to use sets of 3 of these little mini humps, and we want to go from the top of one, skip one to the top of another, okay? So, and we want them to be about the same size. So now my next set, there's my first, second, third one. I'm gonna go from the top of this one to the top of this one. I'm gonna try not to go so far into those little humps so that I'm going in it, okay? So I'm kind of making the same kind of thing that I already did, but notice I went with a thicker marker over to here. And I'm trying to have a little bit more of an evenness to them if at all possible. Now, the question inevitably comes, what if my numbers don't work all right for, you know, judging with these little humps? Then we fudge. I am not afraid of fudging. So we will see if it works. I'm gonna have to fudge, and that's okay. That's not a problem. So this one is gonna be a little bit wider than the rest, so I'm gonna try my best to start a little further over. There, that's not too bad. Okay, so I actually used 4 instead of 3 on that one because that's just kind of how it ended up laying out. So that was with a thick marker. Because I like a lot of variation, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go over each of these with a second line. I'm going to go a little more rounded on top, and I'm also using my fine point marker. And there's so many things you can do with a mandala. And in fact, I'm going to be doing, Friday's video is going to be aimed a little bit more at adults, although certainly middle schoolers or high schoolers would probably benefit from it. But we may do some fun things with mandalas on Friday. I haven't decided. If not, we're going to aim, what we're going to learn about on Friday is going to help us aim towards a fun project using mandalas. Okay, so going back to these little humps here where we use the 3 to kind of judge, I'm going to go to that center one that doesn't have anything touching it. I'm just going to choose to draw a little line coming out of the middle here. You might have to fudge those a little bit if it doesn't end up being right in the middle, just to kind of get a variation. Okay, doesn't look bad there. And then I'm going to choose, I'm going to switch my marker back here again. Let's go back to the bigger marker. For each of these little humps, I'm gonna now, I wanna switch, I wanna do a hump, but more of a teardrop style hump. So for these, I might use my little marking pen here, and I might decide how I wanna go to the center of this hump and decide how high I want it to go. So I'm gonna say it's gonna go maybe a little higher right here. So I'm gonna put a little mark at the top of that, and I'm gonna go around to each one, line it up where I have my little mark here, put a dot there. Just keep working my way around. always, always, always turning the paper so that you don't end up with a crooked hump or a crooked teardrop. And one more. Hopefully you can see those on the video. And then now what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to draw a teardrop. So a teardrop is going to go down and out and down again. And I'm going to try to end up coming in between this hump. So I'll start at the dot, down a little bit, around, and down there. On the other side, down a little bit, around, and on there. And I can go back and kind of, we're going to make these a little bit thicker, so if it gets uneven at all, you can go back and make adjustments. Same thing here. Down, this is my fudge one, so this might be a little wide. Down and around, down and around. And even it up. Keep moving my way around. Down and around, down and around. Not looking bad at all. A lot of times people prefer to write this or draw this out in pencil first as they're learning how to do them. That way you can erase if you need to, and that's okay. A permanent marker sometimes can feel kind of scary. I'm using a permanent marker today just because otherwise I don't think you'd be able to see the designs as easily. If I used a pencil. Okay, I'm liking this. Now, one of the things I am noticing, and you might have noticed it too, I'm not on center, like my original dot wasn't on center. I'm not worried about that at all. Not a big deal whatsoever. So if that happens, just keep going. It's not a problem, okay? So what will we do for our next design? I think for our next design, we'll go ahead and let's grab the little marker again. And I think we're gonna go and just do little tiny little petals all the way around the sides of these teardrops. You might have noticed as I was trying to think what I wanted to do next that I don't necessarily have a plan. And that's okay. You don't have to always feel like you have to have a plan, especially with these mandalas. Yes, they take some thinking as you're going along, but they are all made with very, very similar patterns repeated over and over again. I'm going to show you those here in a minute. And it might be beneficial if you want to try doing more of these on your own. It might be beneficial to just write down what the basic patterns are so that you have them to look at as you're making a mandala and come up with some ideas. So I'm gonna, I love that. Okay, so I'm gonna show you off to the side here some of the basic patterns. So basically, to start off learning, of course there's a zillion ones you could use, but to start off learning how to make mandalas, I would stick with basic ones. The little hump, and those obviously can be big, they can be small. The little teardrop, okay. You also could do kind of a star triangle. Maybe we'll try that next to kind of play around with it. And then of course you've got dots, lots and lots of dots, which we haven't put a ton in yet, but we will start putting them in. And lines. Now with just these simple 5 shapes, nothing more. Are there more that you could do? Absolutely. But with those simple 5, you can make tons and tons of mandalas. And you can just do them in different sizes with different thicknesses of lines and placing them in different direction or different patterns for each one. And you'll end up with lots and lots of patterns. So that would be a fun one to kind of think about. Okay, so we have not done the star here yet. So let's go ahead and do that. So I don't want this to get too big because I'm actually going to run my mandala off into my pattern. But I'm going to go to the very center of these. And I'm going to choose to make a mark on here. Make sure I'm smack dab there, okay? And I'm gonna make my little mark to tell me where I'm gonna have this end up. Again, we're gonna do the little, it's basically a triangle, but it's gonna look like the legs of a star when we're done. So I'm going to the center right here, laying my mark down there. Again, you could do that with a ruler. Something about those numbers and the rulers, my right brain says, no, don't make me do math. So this works well for me, but whatever you works well for you is fine. Okay, so then I'm gonna start off doing this thin. Sometimes, you know, it's better to make things thin and then you decide if you want to thicken them up. But speaking of thicken, this needs to be just a little longer. There we go. Okay, so what I'm gonna do to start off with is I'm just basically gonna go from that center and I'm gonna try to shoot somewhere halfway up the side of this. So try to get it as even as you can. So I'm gonna go from here, oops, to here. Now, could I freehand that? Absolutely, that would be completely fine. But for all of you who are a little skittish about doing freehand, I just wanted to make sure you had other options. I have really, really enjoyed you guys seeing all the wonderful, wonderful pictures that you guys have sent to me over the last week and a half or so of your families doing these projects. I cannot even begin to tell you how happy that makes me. And please feel free to keep going on those. So I'm gonna thicken that line and make this a little bit thicker. And if I want to just barely extend out that line a little bit, this is my opportunity to do that. So yeah, my inbox has been flooded with pictures. I've had people send them to me on Facebook Messenger and in text if they know me. And then I've had a lot of people just post it to my Facebook site, which is Artwork by Julia Coolish. And I love that. Like, please continue to do that and don't feel like, oh, I don't want to bother her, or oh my goodness, she's already got so many, what's one more? Or even some people have mentioned, well, I was going to send you a picture, but you'd already done the project last week and I figured I shouldn't. No, I want to see your pictures. Send them to me. I really enjoy getting to see that so much. So don't hesitate to send those, please. Okay, so I'm liking that a lot. That's fun. So I think what we'll do now, I think we're going to do maybe, trying to decide here. Let's do a really big teardrop coming out, okay? And I think we can double it then. We want it to be really fat and really wide. So I actually think we're gonna go from the points of our original teardrops out. So I'm gonna run into problems here because I'm probably gonna run into this little pattern thing I made here over here. That's okay though. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go from basically the point of this out as far as I'm gonna want it. And I want it to extend out past the original. I think I'll go a little further. I think I'll go to here. We'll see where that takes us. Okay, I'm drawing my dots really little, that way remember which mark I was on. And then that way if I change my mind and I want to redo it somewhere else, I can. Okay, so again, I'm doing this teardrop. I'm going from basically the tip of it to my mark. Some of my tips are a little bit longer than others, which I'll have to adjust. So I'm kind of trying to eye it a little bit. Oh, here's where we're going to run into our pattern. That's okay. Oh, we're actually not. Hey, wonderful. Okay. Oops. And one more right out here. Okay. So I don't know if you can see that on there, but I can see it, and that's what's important. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go from the edge of my star legs, and I want to go straight up and over like this. Okay, now there's my dot. I went a little above it. It just had to happen, and that's okay. Eye it to make it work. And then when I come back, I try to follow generally the same pattern. May or may not get it, but I'm gonna try. So come down. And this one you might want to do in pencil. This is a little trickier one. Do it in pencil first, that's okay. And then that way if you need to erase, you can. And I'm really loving this pattern though, this is fun. And then I'm really loving the design that we're coming up with. Because I oftentimes don't think too much about making a plan. When I start these, you never know where you're going to end up, and that's kind of part of the fun of them. You kind of plan as you go. And as long as I'm using my little pattern designs over here, I can just decide where I want to repeat them. No problem. Okay, so we're going to do a couple things, and this is going to be our last big design, I think, and then we'll fill in details. So a couple things we're going to do. First of all, I want to take and I want to draw a thicker line on the inside that is going to be, I might actually do it on the outside. Just a little, it's going to follow the same pattern, but I'm going to use my thick marker. That got a little thick, that's okay. Trying to follow, generally speaking, the same line as what I just did. I'm trying very hard not to overthink this, or not to get caught up in, oh my goodness, that wasn't perfect, that went too far this way, or that wasn't far enough this way. It's okay. When all is said and done, I'm really not going to notice those little imperfections nearly as much as when we're concentrating on making the project. Now we're going to run into our pattern. That's okay. Almost, anyway. Okay, there we go. Love it. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Is that okay? Absolutely. Not a problem whatsoever. Okay, so I'm going to switch back to my small pen, a little more detailed, and I'm just going to make our little mini humps on the thin line that we use to make our giant teardrop. Okay, and when I get to that middle part, not even going to try to fill it in, just go mostly along the sides. So I know this is a little bit longer of a video than what I've been doing. I thought about kind of giving you the basics and then doing a time-lapse video to show you how to do it, but I really felt like this is one that you really need to kind of do step by step. It just only makes sense. Don't know about you all and where you're at and what the weather is like, but I've had a lot of gray days here in Iowa, and I'm ready for some major sunshine coming up. I think it's needed. But in my studio here, it doesn't really matter necessarily so much whether it's gray out or sunny. I have this beautiful northern light that comes through a window that really helps it always feel pretty bright, and so that's a good thing right now for sure. Needing that brightness. Almost there. There we go. Okay. Oh my goodness, I love this. Obviously mandalas kind of appeal to me because really do love flower design, so that kind of helps. So, okay, I think what I'm gonna do now is then I'm gonna do the same kind of design. Actually, I've done 2 of these. I try to like get a lot of variety, so I've done 2 of the teardrop design, so I think I'm gonna just do a large rainbow design in the middle here that we could do some fun stuff with. So I'm gonna come down to where the triangle meets the little mini humps, and I'm just gonna kind of come up pretty tall and around. Up pretty tall and around. Sorry, had to straighten my papers. Up pretty tall, around. And one more. So the nice thing about mandalas are you always can get more. You don't have to like hold back. You know the old phrase, less is more. I think in mandalas, more is more. So, okay, so these, I love these. I love that addition, but I think it needs a little bit of oomph to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to do the same thing I did with this, where I'm gonna outline it in a thicker black. I'm gonna try to leave a gap. That is gonna help tremendously. Okay. Go. Okay, that's great. Love it. You can see that it's starting to really build up this design and really getting some depth to it. So it can feel like you're kind of looking at the top part and then it goes further and further and out. And that is a really great thing. That's a wonderful thing. So let's go into this center section right in here. I know I'm moving around a little bit, but I want to add a little bit of detail, just something simple, something a little different than what our pattern had over here. But I just had this thought of doing kind of an S curve. So I'm going to take my thin my thin marker, and just draw a little line like that. It's got a little bit of a slant, and then it kind of candy canes out and then twirls. Oh, that's going to add a lot. Start getting excited when it does fun stuff like this. Oh my goodness. Anybody else kind of just have happy little dances here on your own when you're creating something that's really all of a sudden like takes on some life and just starts to look so beautiful. My goodness. To me, that adds just so much, so much. Okay, so I think now we're getting into the part where we're really starting to add some details, and this is where it gets really important, where it goes from like just a bunch of lines to some like really fun stuff. So let's go right to the center, just add a nice black dot in the middle, okay? And then all of these original little petals or humps that we made, go ahead and add a little dot that's a little bit smaller than your center one to all of those. So back to the idea that we have basically 5 different pattern kind of things that we can use to make really cool mandalas. A dot is one of them. They're used a lot and they're very effective. Okay. Try and decide what I want to do next here. Have to think about it. Okay, let's go up here and let's just draw a straight line that comes down a little bit like this and go around and do that on all of them. So right in the center of our tall hump. This is where it gets really, really fun to think of some different ideas you can do for this. I'm gonna get rid of that bottom paper I have just sitting here, so I don't have to keep trying to shuffle it around. Okay, back to my original, and I think I may switch back to my thicker marker, and I'm just gonna draw a little curved line coming down to a point. Nothing crazy. Oops. But again, adding some depth by just adding design. I think I like mandalas too, just because beautiful curvy designs are kind of my thing. And I'm in nature, God is just such an amazing creator of beautiful designs. And I think the mandalas are a great example of what we see in nature. So, okay, in between these two, let's just do a little thick dot. Don't necessarily have to turn your page for this one because we're not doing any lines, so we don't have to worry about going crooked. Okay, I'm liking that. Really love this so much. I would love to bring that out a little bit more. I'm trying to think whether we should do that. If we left it as is right now, it almost, I mean, it's just beautiful. Let's finish out up here on the top and do a little bit of design up here. What I want you to do is I want you to do a little mini teardrop and fill it in, and then a dot on top. I can't do it over here because I really would run into the sample I gave you, but be sure and do it there around each side. Little mini teardrop and a dot. Might run off my page right there too. The mandala's getting kind of big. I'm liking that though. I feel like something needs to go in here though. I think I might take my small pen and let's see if we can't do something similar to this. That just looked so beautiful there. I'm thinking if I come from the corner here, yeah, I like that. So I'm gonna go out, in, oh, I didn't do that one well, did I? You know why? I needed to go out instead. That one went the wrong direction. It's okay. So go out, in, and go that way. That's gonna look better. All right, we're gonna just have to settle with that one looking funky. Out, in, around, excuse me. Out, in, around the other way. Out, in, around, out, in, around the other way. This is going to be tight, but I made it work. So again, any of these designs, if you didn't want to use them, not a problem. You can have it as intricate and complicated as you would like it to be. But you want it pretty full. You want there to be quite a lot of design. So we didn't do a ton of crazy patterns. We didn't have it anything complicated, but we ended up with a fun kind of a fun design that kind of really has that kind of flair of India kind of feel, which is definitely where the mandalas kind of are coming out of. So I hope you enjoyed this. Try some new things. I might do mandalas here coming up and maybe try another pattern in the next week or so, but try some new patterns on your own. And again, by all means, feel free to send me some pictures. Enjoy, you guys. Thanks.